welcome to the
September.
May 23rd
Don't wish summer away.
Selectmen's meeting. Please stand for Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Caitlyn E. McCarthy of Abington died tragically on May 13th at the age of 18. Caitlyn was unapologetically genuine. She always looked out for the underdog and those in need. She had a strong artistic sensibility and loved to dance and sing. She could be stubborn and fierce, but she was also gentle and protective. Kate was supposed to be graduating in June of this year from Abington High. She's the cherished daughter of Laurie Frost of Abington and John McCarthy of Stoughton. Please keep her family and friends in your thoughts. Thank you. I'd like to say one more thing. I want to thank our first responders and one of our own, Vice Chairman Mike, was on duty that night, and it could never be easy going to an incident like that, and we do appreciate everything you guys do, both the police, fire, all our first responders, so thank you. Public announcements. Alex.
Mr. Chairman, I just have two public announcements. The first is May 30th is Memorial Day. Let us join together with fellow Abington residents and veterans to remember and honor Abington's fallen heroes. The town of Abington will be holding a Memorial Day ceremony Monday, May 30th at 9 a.m. at Mount Vernon Cemetery, Veterans Lot. Let us remember why we immortalize Memorial Day: to honor our fallen brave soldiers who gave the last full measure of devotion to the USA to ensure that the nation we built on freedom will forever be free. Our liberty lives on by the virtue of our heroes. The ceremony will be led by our veterans organizations in Abington. Again, the Veterans Day ceremony will be held at Mount Vernon Cemetery's Veterans Lot at 9 a.m. Monday, May 30th. And the last public announcement that I have, Mr. Chairman, I just, as one selectman, I want to express my sincerest condolences to Caitlyn McCarthy, her mother Laurie, her best friends, and her family as they grieve during this tragic time. On Friday, I had the opportunity to meet with Caitlyn's best friends and hear the stories about Caitlyn and her personality at a vigil that her friends put together at Arnold Park on Friday. It was absolutely beautiful with candles and flowers and decorations and music. What Caitlyn's friends were able to do in such a tragic situation was come together and love one another and look out for each other. Something that I think our community can be immensely and truly proud of. They talked about Caitlyn and her courage, her bravery, her creativity, her uniqueness, her fierceness, and it was emboldened by all of her friends there and everyone who spoke. Caitlyn's memory definitely lives on in each and every one of them. And the last thing that I want to say about the vigil, I want to speak directly to Caitlyn's friends who put the whole vigil together. I am immensely proud of every single one of Caitlyn McCarthy's Caitlyn McCarthy's friends, who are taking this tragedy and trying to do something good by talking about and stomping out any form of bullying. No person, no child on this earth deserves to be bullied for being themselves. No person deserves to be picked on for embracing their uniqueness. Everyone on this earth is unique, and we should be embracing that, not attacking it. And Caitlyn was very proud of who she was, and it lives on in her friends. So I just want to extend to Caitlyn's friends that thank you for stepping up and doing the right thing to stomp out bullying. I know what it's like to be bullied. And sometimes it's that one instance that if you see someone being bullied, you stomp it out. Stand up for people who are being bullied. You never know. It just might save somebody's life. So to Caitlyn's friends, thank you for inspiring me, and I know you're inspiring many people in the town of Abington. And keep up the good work and stomp out bullying. That's all I have for announcements, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Alex. Tim?
I have one on June 24th. The Veterans Agent here in Abington is running a drive-through to get through. It's a free food giveaway for veterans and active service members. That is going to be at Abington Senior Center, 441 Summer Street, from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m.
What was the date again, Tim?
June 24th.
Thank you. Mike, do you have anything?
Nothing tonight.
And I don't have anything. So moving on, I'd like to just move to update on Ames Knoll Master Plan first, because I know the chairman of that needs to pick up his son at 7 o'clock. So, Rick Collins.
Do a presentation. Would you be so kind for a moment?
The white switch? That should shut those lights. No, the white. Keep going. There you go. Yeah, maybe not. Is that a Mac?
Nope, it's a Chromebook.
It's not, it's not.
The function and then the FA key. I'll see, Chromebooks don't have those sort of fancy things like functions and FA key. Doesn't have that function. I won't hold this up anymore. That did it.
All right, just close the notebook and we should be good.
Then I can't advance it. Yes, it is. Anyway, yeah, that's weird.
Keep doing that.
So the Ames Knoll Master Plan Committee was put together by the Board of Selectmen back, I believe, in 2018. in response to the fact that there really wasn't any sort of discussion, control over what's happening at the park. Everybody knows Ames Knoll. It's a great park. It's 600 acres. Some of it is just, untouched woodlands that, we're talking old growth because it hasn't been cut in, 150 years. I mean, it's just, there's quarries out there. There's all sorts of amazing features to this park. But as we know, it's become quite run down and neglected over the years. So the idea of the master plan committee was to have some people come together and figure out what the park needs immediately, in a couple of years, and 5 to 10 years down the road, because nobody in the state was going to be doing that for us, and then bringing the plan and seeing what we can do with it. So the committee is myself, Paul Bucher, who's now with Conservation, Chris Schultz, and Paul Usberg. We've made up the most of it. We had a lot of meetings prior to the pandemic, kind of went into dormancy during the height of the pandemic. We've been meeting on and off for the past few months. This is really one of the last big things we want to do before we finalize it. Just some quick background about the park is that the pond wasn't always there. Beaver Brook, which runs through the middle of the pond, has always been there, but the pond wasn't. The pond really wasn't there as we know it until about 100 years ago when one of the owners put a dam kind of near where the existing one is, and that really allowed it to fill up. Previously, there were other little smaller dams because the site's always been part of the town's industry. You had one of the town's first mills located on Beaver Brook just off Chestnut Street. But the Cleveland Pond really wasn't created until about the 1900s. And what we know as Ames Knoll State Park really came together in about the 1940s when Ames Knoll, who was Oliver Ames's grandson, Ames of the town of Easton, part of Borderland, that family basically bought up all the land and started pulling together all the individual pieces around the park into one big holding. Interestingly, the one property he couldn't buy, and this is all well documented at the town library, is the Porecki land. He just said they refused to sell. The old man was stubborn and they refused to sell. So this is still a problem apparently. It was turned into a state park in the 1960s. Initially, if you talk to people, the Boy Scouts would go and camp there. You had lots of boating, canoes, swimming, which you don't see anymore. They had guided tours going around the park. And also, interestingly, like since the earliest days, there's been problems with people gathering in parking lots and having parties and public safety issues and fights. And so some of that hasn't changed either. But really what happened is about 2004, when we had that state economic problem, Ames Knoll was actually slated to close. Like they were going to shut it, like can't go into it because of budget reasons. It was saved at the time, but basically it was made a satellite of Wampatuck. So the full-time Pete Rangers who were at Ames Knoll were sent to Wampatuck and essentially sent back over to Ames Knoll kind of on the busier seasons. It's an afterthought, essentially, and that's one of the problems. So, the folks who work there are great people, and they care about the park very much, but there's no individual Ames Knoll line item in the DCR budget anywhere. So, here's just some of the fortunate headlines we've been seeing over the years, which is recognizing that just in the early zeros, just the funding was devastated, and people very quickly noticed that trash isn't being picked up, the bathrooms closed and then burned down and never were replaced. At one point in the summer, they had something like 24 part-time employees during the summer to help do guided tours and camps, and it's just all gone. Kathy Teen was really helpful about 05, 06 to get some money into it, but since then there really hasn't been much specific investment done for the park. So over the past couple of years, while through this committee, we've had a lot of conversations with people, and the great thing is how many people are interested in helping this effort out. People really like Ames Knoll. This isn't something where we have to go twist people, say, no, really, go check it out. You want to see what this place is like. It's like, no, they know it, they've been there, they love it, they want to help. And that's, fantastic to have in this sort of effort. One of the best parts about this is establishing a partnership with the New England Mountain Bikers Association. They have a specific Southeastern Mass chapter, and these guys are just amazing. These are the guys who go into the park on their bikes and they cut all the trees that have fallen down. They keep an eye out for four-wheelers and ATVs, which have been a growing problem again. They report issues because with their bikes, they're just all over the park at all times. They're building bridges and mapping out trails, and they're just incredible stewards in this whole effort. And they've been so helpful in helping us do this. They helped identify an issue we have going on there today about some potentially illegal activity. So they've been amazing. We've had a couple volunteer cleanups. If you've been up there lately, you know the dam shoreline looks a lot better. Thanks to Allison Sullivan, we were able to get the grill stands that were just literally rotted poles sticking out of the ground at shin height, taken out and replaced. So now at least they're waist high before you walk into them. And we've also been able to go and document the beaver flooding at the north end of the pond, which is a real actual thing. You go out there are beavers, you will see them, you will see their dams, you will see the chewed down stumps. So that is an environmental issue that isn't just cute, it's something that has to be kind of dealt with in some way.
You're flooding downtown, you want to do it.
So our key goals were simple. It was to improve public safety, focus on visitor services, embrace active opportunities. Just to specify about this, there are some parks that are more passive recreation. It's walking, sitting, drawing. I mean, you just kind of chill out. And then there are other parks where people like to do it. They like to go running, they like to go biking, they like to fish, they like to canoe. Those are more the active recreational opportunities. Ames Knoll is definitely an active recreation park. We want to, of course, protect the environmental benefits. This is one of the core habitat areas in the region. And figure out what the short and the long-term needs are. So here's kind of the key public safety needs. One is to keep the dam shoreline cleared. And what happens is that when it doesn't get cleared on a regular basis, the weeds grow up shoulder high, head high. And it means that if you're standing on the shore, you can't see what's happening around that curve towards the other side of the pond. And that's a public safety issue. Just by keeping it clear, as a ranger told us, he can stand kind of in that main entrance area and see the far side of the pond, which is a very popular walking area. So that's, for instance, a public safety need is to keep it clear. We need an improved trail marking system, including park boundaries. If you pull up a map, it'll have the intersections are kind of mapped out. Those are the W01, W02 that you might see. But other than that, you have no idea where you are. There's no trail names, there's no trail maps. And this is why we keep having people getting lost in the park, because it is big, and it all looks alike, and all the trails wind around, and it's a major public safety issue. And so we're hopefully going to work with the fire department, see if we can identify where those areas people tend to get lost the most, and see if we can at least start to put together some directional signs at some spots to say, hey, if you mean to go back to Cleveland Pond, it's this way. If you need to go back to the power lines, it's this way, and at least start to give them some sort of directional ability. There's also a need to specify where some of the park boundaries are. With some of the residential areas growing, they're now impeding on what have been marked trails, essentially, from the state park. And so we have some residents complaining about hikers just all of a sudden appearing in their backyards, because there's no signs that say, now leaving state park, now entering private backyard. So that's something that needs to be clarified. There's also no signage about the fact that ATVs are banned out there, and that there's no hunting. And if you go out there in some of the spots, you will see hunting blinds set up in a tree, because there's a lot of animals out there. And we've heard a lot of reports about increases in ATV traffic. Apparently one of the popular spots a little bit further south got closed, and they've been migrating up this way. And the power lines make it a real appealing area to just plop it down and go for miles, and you can't, it's illegal. And if anybody sees it, they'll call environmental police, and those four wheels will get picked up right away. But but we need to put the signs up just to let people know that, hey, this is not an allowed activity. And of course, more regular ranger presence. People go up there and they know there's not a ranger up there, and that's not a safe thing to do. So we want to make sure we're advocating to have more regular rangers, especially during the busy months. What's a park if you don't like going to the park? So one of the things is, the bathrooms burned down 10 years ago and they were never replaced. When you have a park that attracts thousands and thousands and thousands of people every month, it's probably helpful to have someplace a little bit more permanent than a porta potty. So, this is part of what the needs are. Trail maintenance largely hasn't been done through most of the park. The mountain bikers are great about keeping things clear, but there's a lot of trails that just aren't, they're overgrown. You can't walk through them without turning sideways. Or the areas where you used to have little wooden bridges across the muddy spots, well, the muddy spots have migrated now, and now they don't match. So all those ongoing maintenance issues just haven't been done. We do need to complete the Poreki land acquisition. I was going to ask Scott if there's an update about where that stands.
Yeah, it's going through the land court
Still
process
okay.
now, and
Okay.
moving at the rate that moves.
And so part of that is once that's complete, we can hopefully build a trail that goes around the pond, because right now, people kind of take that walk and expect it to keep going, and it doesn't. And they're either now have to backtrack, 2 miles or bushwhack through some land that technically isn't public. So it leaves people a little bit confused as to what to do. Environmental. There's certainly some needs to make sure that the water coming into the pond is clean. Since the town has become sewered, that isn't as much of an issue, but there still is contributing factors. It's like we're seeing with Island Grove, there's a lot of weeds in the water. Is it because of what's coming into the pond? Is it just naturally occurring? Is it because we've had so much of a drought the past few years? If you talk to people that grew up in the area, they'll tell you about swimming and jumping into it, and that it wasn't 5 feet of muck. And now it's a lot of places where you go, it's only about 4 or 5 feet deep because it's been growing up so much. So we do want to figure out, is there something contributing to the water quality that we can address? And then pursue the maintenance plan. We need to figure out if there's something we should be doing with the beavers up north, because left to their own devices, they'll change the landscape, and not necessarily in a positive way. And so we need to figure out, is there something that can or should be done on how we handle that? And then one of the things we talked about is acquiring the land to the north of Chestnut Street that contributes to it. And this has certainly come up over the years. But Ames Knoll is just a piece in a large necklace of environmental habitat that starts up in Weymouth and travels down through Braintree and Holbrook and Abington and Whitman and Brockton and contributes all the way further south. It's a really big chain of land. And so the more that we can do to make sure that we're protecting what's north of this, whether that's part of working with their other towns of Holbrook and Braintree and Weymouth and creating a larger forest or woods area, is something to look at long term. Some shorter term goals is definitely to start doing a better job marking the trails and the sub-trails. Again, just so people know where they are. We originally were going to think about doing this on the east side of the pond first, but then what we realized is people on the east side of the pond know where they are. It's the west side of the pond that really people get lost and get turned around. So one of the, I think our goals for the summer is to try to figure out, at least to start putting some basic signs up. The other short-term goal, and this is really the big thing to do after this, is to create a Friends of Ames Knoll group. There's a Friends of Wampatuck, there's a Friends of Borderland, and boy, do they advocate on behalf of those parks. I can tell you, as someone who was a Senate staffer whose district included Wampatuck, heard from them constantly about advocating on behalf of the park. What they needed, what the state was doing right, what the state was doing wrong. And they were a great voice for that group. And of course, that park's a lot bigger too. But, without anyone advocating regularly for Ames Knoll, nothing will get done. And it's very much a squeaky wheel situation when it comes to DCR and the state parks. So we'll be forming a Friends of Ames Knoll group. and making that a self-sustaining thing, and handing it off to that group to really start pushing this forward and to take over long-term stewardship. Longer-term goals includes making sure that that pathway around Cleveland Pond gets finished, because that really turns into an asset instead of making it a big U, effectively, that it is today. There's also, it would be interesting to have a marker system, because the property has such an interesting history. Anyone who's read any of Richard Beale's commentary about it knows there are some really fascinating stories about this property going back 100, 125 years. And there's still a lot of this out there. There's still a lot of foundations for homes and huts still out there. There's still some quarries out there. There's the remnants of mills out there. There's the Revolutionary grave that's out there. So that can be turned into part of the park itself. Long term, I think there's a need to study whether or not the main entrance should be off Linwood or Chestnut Street. Linwood's a very narrow residential street. They've taken a lot of traffic for a lot of years. Once you acquire all the land around the park, does it make sense to have the main entrance off Chestnut Street instead? It's something I think it needs to be considered. There really isn't a lot of infrastructure off Linwood Street now, so you're not talking about having to give up millions of dollars worth of property. But even the parking lot, as set up now, goes 2/3 of the way out to Chestnut Street. So, I mean, just coming in off there is not like a huge thing. Again, that's a longer term goal, not something that'll happen this year, next year, the year after that. We're almost done. Nope, is that it? There's one more. Let me skip this one. This is the final one. To embrace some of the recreational opportunities, we want to, of course, work with our friends in the mountain bike group to make sure that they have some creating bike trails. They put a couple of new ones out in the northeast corner. Apparently, Ames Knoll is legendary in this community about the quality of mountain bike riding, because it's so tough. You have so many ridges. The guys love Ames Knoll. So why not lean into it? You can have mountain bike races. You can have all these other things. And it's great to have these people out there because they can see so much of the park so fast, and it's like having a second pair of eyes. There's an opportunity to see if this is a good spot to have a cross-country trail. And I think I was told a bunch of years ago that they used to have races up there.
Rick, back when I was in high school, that's where our cross-country races were. It was typically around the main entrance. We didn't really go into the park that much.
So it would be, I think, a great opportunity to look at, can you go up that main carriage trail on the east side of the pond and go back down and around, and then it becomes, does it become a place where you can hold regional meets and larger meets, and now it's something else that Ames, Knoll, and Abington is known for. There's already a lot of interest about canoes and kayaks and using it for a launch, but it's hard when the gate is closed, when there's not a ranger there. And so we want to figure out how we can make that an easier thing to do. As well as, is this a place where we can have regular bike and running races? Just so, again, more people, more stature, brings up the reputation of the park even more. So those are our general recommendations. Next steps is to create the Friends group, to, of course, bring this to the state and present it to DCR with help from our legislative team, and to really start pushing these tasks, these ideas, as we kind of move forward. But of course, before we do that, we just want to get input from the board, if they have any thoughts. So to dump it all on you guys, what do you think?
Well, will the state allow us to go in there and do clearing and put up signs and do things like that?
They are actually very happy to have outside groups help.
Okay.
As long as they know what you're doing, they tend to be very open to that. I mean,
Do you have a contact that you've been dealing with
Yes.
for that? Okay.
yeah.
Rick, I know the bathroom's burned down, so it's now just a cement block that's there. The building the parking lot, the circle there further back, because that's where we used to run. There's another building back there, correct? Am I correct? Or?
Yeah, it stores some of the equipment.
Okay.
A lot of the tractors and mowers and things.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no, my understanding is there's no facilities on site anywhere.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think, excuse me, pursuing the parking lot on Chestnut Street's a great idea. It'd give you the opportunity to make it bigger and better lit, which could help the public safety of the lights being, help people find their way back.
Yeah.
So I know it's long-term, but definitely something that should pursue.
Something else long-term, stocking the pond with fish.
Yeah.
I know I like this plan already, but down the road, that would be something nice to see. There's already some great fish in there, but, do a yearly trout or something, that would be interesting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They used to have fishing derbies down there all the time when I was growing up.
Biggest thing is
the weeds were
the
never an
weed.
issue there.
Yeah, taking care of the weeds. That's
Probably within the last 20 years, the weeds really, you can't, right now you can't fish it after June, because it's just, the weeds are just too much.
You're starting to see algae blooms. So that's part of the reason of, all right, is it the water that's coming into the pond, or is there something else that's happening that makes this happen? Oh, they are? Oh, good. Excellent. It's nice to have the conservation chairman on the
Yeah. I knew that was coming up. I just wasn't sure.
So,
Okay, anyone have anything else? Anyone in the audience?
So anybody who has any suggestions between now and when we find, I mean, this is going to be an ongoing thing. Feel free to email us at friendsofamesknoll@gmail.com, and we'll have another meeting coming up in the next few weeks to kind of finalize this and close it out. But again, thank you to the board for allowing us to put this together and to work through this.
Great job, thank you.
And I hope this really puts the park in good footing for the next few years coming forward. So thank you for doing this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did skip over public comments. Anyone have public comments on anything? If not, we're going to take the requests from Abington Copes next, so Melissa doesn't have to sit here all night. Melissa, come on up here. Melissa is the new president of Abington Copes, which formerly known as Abington Substance Awareness Coalition. Like Alex and I mentioned at a previous meeting, we brought in several new members on the board of directors, and very active, and have a lot of hope for it. So Melissa is the president, so why don't you tell us what you're running?
So,
Give your name and address, please.
sorry, Melissa Cook, 358 High Street, Abington. So what we had wanted to do to help get our name out there is do a 5K on September 18th at 9 a.m., which was typically the time of the Jeff Coombs race. So we wanted to use the same route that Jeff Coombs did. I spoke with the chief of police a couple days ago just to see if he would be on board, and he said yes. I've also talked to Christy Coombs, and she said she would definitely help. And I've also talked to someone from South Shore Race Management, who they could do like a lot of the legwork for us, where it's our first time. So.
As everyone knows, Christy Coombs is not doing it anymore. So this will be the same time and hopefully just as big.
Did the police chief give you any idea on what you would need for details or anything like that?
What? We didn't.
For detail officers to work the race or anything?
Did he give me an idea, like how many
Yeah.
or anything? He did not. He kind of said, like, when I get more together to come back and we talk about
Okay.
that. But he said he's a runner himself, so he said
Yeah.
he'd definitely be on board.
I also spoke to him Saturday
Oh,
night
okay.
when he was there, and he's endorsing this. So, any questions from the audience? Any questions from the board?
No, I think this is a great idea.
And for full disclosure, I am on the board of directors, as is Alex
Yes,
Haggerty.
I am as well.
But obviously, there's no financial gain for us, so we can't participate in this. So would someone like to make a motion?
Sure, I'll make a motion that we grant Abington Copes the ability to hold the September road race.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous.
Fabulous. Thank you
So
so much.
just stay in touch with us or Scott as more details come
Okay.
along, okay?
Great, thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa.
Okay. Shit. What are you guys here for specifically? Anything? Just had nothing to do on a Monday night and decided to come here? Wow. That's good. Okay. I didn't want to hold you up if you had something in particular. All right, so let's vote to approve the minutes of May 9th.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes of May 9th, 2022.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Now, let's just go down.
All right, well, Rich is here if you want to discuss the next set of minutes.
Yeah, how do you want to Rich, why don't you come up?
Yeah, sure.
How do we want to handle these minutes? We would vote to approve them, and then they would be made public? Okay.
So approve and release.
Yes.
Okay. So those are the minutes that we've I just handed down from executive session on September 27th. So if you haven't read them over, please do, and then I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I will make a motion to approve and release the meeting minutes of the executive session from September 27th, 2021.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, so moving on. We had asked everyone to send some suggestions for the charter review, and I think Scott emailed those to us. Do you want to go over those, Scott?
I don't remember any of them. Let me bring it up.
While Scott's looking for that, why don't we jump down to number 7, and that's to appoint Finance Director Andrew Nocon to the Plymouth County ARPA Program authorization. We just need a motion to appoint him.
I'll make that motion to appoint Andrew Nocon as the ARPA Program Authorized Reporter Preparer.
Is there a second on that?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Why don't you guys discuss your charity choice? I'm gonna go print out
Okay.
what we had.
So, as everyone knows, or maybe they don't know, each one of the marijuana dispensaries or grow facilities that are allowed in town must do a $5,000 donation every year to a charity. The first couple that signed host community agreements, it was left in the agreement that the selectmen would choose the charity each year. Since the first 3, I think Scott put it in that the, and actually I think the state wants them to do that now, to list the charity. So anyway, Buds is our first that came on board, and they have $5,000 to give to one of our charities of our choice. So,
And just for the public, Alex, I know we had talked about it, it has to be for one charity, we can't dole it out to several
right,
different.
that's
just
how
so-
I understand, is that correct?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Just so people at home understand
Yeah.
where we're coming from.
And what the hope is, we have 5 licenses. Next year, we will, different charities will be getting the money each year. And once all 5 facilities are up and running, it's a total of $25,000 that will be going to the charities each year. So if your charity doesn't get it this year, you probably will be getting some in the next coming years. So would someone like to make a motion for one of the town charities?
Yeah, in today's current atmosphere, I think the Abington Food Pantry would greatly benefit from this donation. I don't have numbers in front of me, but I know how much money how much food they can get with minimal amount of money. So I know this will help them greatly. So I would make a motion that we donate that money to the Abington Food Pantry.
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion? Is there any other charity that someone would like to nominate?
No, I think that's a good one.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Did everyone get a chance to look over the building department fees? The fees haven't been raised in several years. I did review this with Scott, and as many of you might know, I am a contractor and I deal with several towns and building permits, and these are right in line.
They're comparable?
Yeah, very much. There was one change that we made to bring it equally with, the one we have in front of us says demo, $15 per 1,000 of assessed value. That has been changed to
Per project assessed,
Per-
project cost.
project cost, the same as a building permit. That was a mistake, so it's 15 per 1,000
Of project cost.
of project cost. So if it costs $20,000 to knock down a house, it's 15 times 20, okay? Which is what it should be.
Got it.
And again, this is sort of the first in the series. I think next we'll be looking at the fees over in the health department. And, we'll just go department by department until we make sure that we're updated on all of them.
I know a couple of years ago, we did review the parking fees, because Plymouth County does that for us,
Yep.
and they mentioned that our fees were way low.
Way low.
So I believe we changed that, so if you could double check.
I'll double check, yeah.
Okay.
We did.
I get a
We did,
report from
yeah.
them.
That was
A couple of years back.
Yeah, okay. So do I have a motion on the building, plumbing, and gas and wiring fees?
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, I'll make a motion to adjust the fee schedules for the building, plumbing, and gas and wiring.
As in our packet.
And
Is that
so amended.
It was so amended.
So
that
so
the
amended.
demolition fee is $15 per 1,000 of
Project cost.
project cost.
And I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Charter review. These were some of the things that came through. Everyone got an email. If everyone is good with this, or if you have anything else to add, or you want something taken out, I would like to formally send a letter to the Charter Review Committee, and ask for these to be considered.
There's a couple of them here, Alex, that have questions on them. Is this a charter issue? Can we get those questions answered before we send a formal letter?
So, just so, Alex and I had talked about these, and I did look them up to try and figure out where they would be placed. Like, some of them could end up in a bylaw, and some in a charter, depending on which committee. So my thought was to discuss it with either Clifford and Kenny or KP Law and get an answer, and then we'll, if it's appropriate for it to be in the charter, we'll send it to the Charter Review Committee. And then if it's not appropriate, my guess is when the Charter Review Committee is somewhere near wrapping up their work, we're going to probably have to look at a bylaw review for other things also, because there is some of the stuff that seems to be intertwined.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, I don't want to send telling them things that.
Right, exactly.
Steering them in the wrong direction anyway. They
So
got
we'll
enough to do.
we'll send what's appropriate to them, and we'll hold off on bylaw changes.
So we'll have town council look at it before we send
Right.
it.
Correct. And actually, Town Council is working with them on the charter review, too.
Okay, so Scott will take care of that and send the appropriate letter. And do you want to do the town manager's report, and then we'll go into executive session?
Sure. Let's see. So Just a couple quick things. I'm working with KP Law right now, trying to put together a license agreement that will allow the farmer who's been working at Griffin's Dairy Farm to continue to use and maintain approximately 5 acres of land for the purpose of growing beans and potatoes. The farmer has been allowed to farm this land based upon a lease agreement that was endorsed by the previous town manager. But to enter into a new multi-year lease agreement, a competitive bid process should be performed. The farmer, it would be better to get him in there now, better for him, and it's our benefit to continually operate that farmland. So a revocable license agreement works in a similar fashion, but the process is quicker. We could let him in there to do his farm work, and it'll be sort of the bridge until I can put something out to bid. But my experience, and I have quite a bit of it with farm leases, especially of this size, they're not very attractive. They get little or no attention, but we do have to go through that process. So we have a good relationship with the current farmer, and I think it'd be in our best interest to enter into this license agreement. So I'll hopefully have that for you for your next meeting to sign. We received quotes on the repoint and repair project for the Cedra flagpole out front. The low bidder came in at $18,500, which was great. We have appropriated about $55,000 for the project between grant money and CPA money. So we're going to get going on that portion of it. That portion had to be done by July for the grant money that we have. So we'll be seeking to do the flat work and the replacement of the actual flagpole separately. Treasurer Collector Finance Director Sonia Hodge is wrapping up her final weeks of employment. Last week we conducted interviews for the position that is soon to be vacant. Happy to say that we had an internal candidate, Lindsay Grasso, who is the current Treasurer Collector, or Assistant Treasurer Collector. Lindsay interviewed very well and has been offered and has accepted the position. So I'm confident that she will do very well in her new role. She, has been there and ready to back up Sonia for a couple of years now, and I think that she's going to do very well. So that leaves an opening in the Assistant Treasurer Collector position. So that job is currently being posted on the town website, as well as the Mass Municipal Association job website. I would also like to mention that a longtime employee, Deb Libby, has announced her intention to retire at the end of the month. Deb has been with the town for many years, I believe 17 years, I believe. She's been a valuable asset, not only to the Treasurer Collector's office, but also to the Finance Committee, who she's taken the minutes for and helped them out for many years. Additionally, Deb has also helped to onboard countless new employees, as well as provide invaluable assistance to countless retirees over the years. So I'd like to wish Deb a long, wonderful, happy retirement. Thank her for her many years of dedication to the town. We do have something from our Veteran Services Officer in your packet. He could not be here tonight as he is at the Legion. I believe the American Legion has their meeting tonight. So he wants the town to be a Purple Heart town. And the message that I got from Adam is, I'd like to officially establish Abington as a Purple Heart town. Purple Heart Day is Sunday, August 7th. So the plan will be to hold an unveiling of the first Purple Heart sign, and I think you all have a copy of this Purple Heart sign, that will be placed on Glenowitz Way along the entrance to Town Hall. Being placed on the entrance to Town Hall is standard protocol, but Richard Francis Glenowitz, Special 4 from Massachusetts Vietnam War casualty, also received a Purple Heart for his service in Vietnam. So it's even more fitting as he'll be mentioned in one of the speeches. He would anticipate that the signs will be mounted in certain areas. We gave you a map. Basically, all the entrances to the town, any roads entering into the town will have one of these signs. It's not very expensive. I believe the cost of the signs is approximately $850. He does have some money in his fund, so we'll be able to find money, and John Stone has agreed to help put those signs up. So there will be a ceremony. We'll figure out the date and time, but somewhere on and around, obviously, August 7th. Will consist of as many of the Abington Purple Heart recipients as possible, as they will be honored during the process. I know that they're reaching out to the RMV to see, any that we don't already have track of. Sometimes we can find them through there. But so far, they have 3 living recipients that are planning to attend and be honored. So we'll ask the commander of the American Legion to be the face of the ceremony, and obviously would like as many of us, and many of you folks, to be there and be present when we do it. Additionally, and I'm going to ask Adam to come and give you a little more information on this, hopefully at the next meeting, but there's really, it's pretty exciting that there's a recognition for Korean War veterans, some sort of a service award or medal. And we do have several, I guess, that are still alive, living in town, and that are eligible for this. So there's going to be a ceremony for that. We'll get that information to you. It's going to be sometime at the end of June, I believe June 29th. But I do want Adam to come and speak to it. But if anybody does know of a Korean War veteran that is alive in the area, reach out to Adam. We're doing this in conjunction with Whitman and Rockland and their VSOs also. And just a quick update. I haven't talked to the police chief today. Right now we do have 4 recruits in the academy. They're all doing well. I believe they'll be out in the fall and start their field training. At that time, we do have hopefully 3 more that are going in July, pending them just passing a few more tests, and that'll help alleviate a lot of the stress. Of course, again, the recruits coming out in the fall, there'll be obviously a break-in and training period for them, and then the new ones coming in, by the time they get out, there'll also be a break-in and training period. We do have also a hopeful lateral transfer coming back to town, which is a good sign.
Nice.
I think it's very positive that we do have someone who's seeing that the things are going in a positive direction over there and looks to be coming back. So my hopes is after discussing with the chief, I think you'll be in here in your first meeting in June to give us an operational update.
Great. I have a couple of things. As you know, Alex and I were the subcommittee for the policies and procedures, and we've met a couple of times extensively with Nancy, and I want to thank my wife because I dictated to her and she typed it in because I'm Google Docs illiterate, but she actually handled it for me, and Alex had a bunch of things that we put in, and basically what we did, it was about 69 pages, including the financial policy, which we did not look at because Scott is working on that. But there were a lot of things that were repetition. 2005 there was a policy, and then 2011 it was changed, and then 2015 it was changed, and all those policies were in there. So we cleaned it up. We made a couple of suggestions that you'll see in there, and I would like everyone to review it between now and the next meeting and hopefully vote on it. And we finally have a good, clean version of our policies and procedures.
Can you send a digital copy of this?
Yeah, we'll get it out, and I'm sending it over to, Rich just has it, and Jamie will have it. And they'll review it, and assuming, it's not much different than, obviously it's cleaning things up, but this is also part of the agenda for the upcoming training in June too. So it'll be nice to have it codified, I guess, so to speak, by then.
Okay. And that training, just so any committee person or volunteers that are out there, is June 21st.
21st, correct. It'll be at 6:30 at the senior center, and we're going to get information on the website probably tomorrow, and emails out to all committee members. And
if you're just a resident and you'd like to come by, there's no harm in that either.
Well, you're on a committee.
Yeah. Couple other things I wanted to bring up, Scott. Where do we stand on the weeds at Island Grove?
Well, we have money for it, and I believe we're putting it, the project has to be bid, and I think the idea was to do it just before July,
Okay,
because it's July money.
okay. And what about capping of the landfill?
So they're coming in, I sent the stuff, my RFP over to the engineer that we've been using
Right.
at Sanborn Head. He's looking it over, and
Steve Wright?
Steve Wright, yeah,
Yeah.
he's actually coming in here, the second meeting in June,
okay.
to go over the process and, you know, the pros and cons of everything, and just to actually give you, everybody a background on, I know that you know it, and Tim, you probably have a pretty good background on it, being on the Board of Health probably right around the time that they were coming on board, I'm guessing, but it'll be good for everybody to get a background on it
Great.
and an update.
Okay. I don't have anything else. Does anyone else?
Yeah, actually, Scott, I was wondering if we could get members of the Griffin's Dairy Committee in for next meeting, maybe have a discussion with them instead of having a he said, she said back and forth. I know there's some current concerns about where their money is for the well, and I know that that price has increased and there's some issues going on. I just think it would be better to have everybody here and we can sit and discuss what's going on there.
Sure.
And the other thing I'd really, really like to see by the end of summer, some way, somehow, is the town getting a grant writer. Whether it be, you know, one of our guys from the fire department doing a little class. I mean, it's time consuming, but it's not something that most people can't figure out. If it's a money issue rather than hiring someone, the other thing I was thinking about is a joint grant writer shared between, reach out to the other towns.
Are there grants that you think that we're not
I think
applying
there's
for, or
there's
that are out there
grants
that-
there's some grants out there that I've been told, not necessarily town-wise, but like a lot of these little committees and stuff are looking for help, and if
But if they let us know that the grants are there, Liz Shea
she can do that.
does that. That's
Okay.
what she,
Okay.
that's,
I don't think
Yeah.
that's well known, so I think that's good to get out there.
I mean, I said it at town meeting several
No,
times, every town meeting, about how much we get in
I
grants, so.
understand, and I think maybe 100 people heard
Yeah.
you know.
But I, no,
So
and
maybe-
the other part of it is, certainly if, because there can be grants within organizations that I don't know about.
Right.
And if they are technical grants that maybe Liz and I can't deal with.
Yeah.
I can find money. A lot of
Okay.
times the grants, you know, will reimburse too. So that technical portion of it. So, yeah, I mean, if we can get it out there, and I think at that next training, if we have a lot of committee people, that's a good time to bring it up. That if,
Or maybe send an email out to all the
Yeah.
departments and.
That, you know, that
Yeah.
would probably be the best bet. Just send out a thing saying if there's a grant or you need some help, and
yeah,
just
absolutely.
something so
Let
that
the
they all
selectmen's
know.
office know and.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we love getting grants.
No,
We do.
that's what's gonna,
And the fire
Keep us
department
going.
leads the charge in town with the grants.
yeah.
We only get stuff from them.
But them is us.
Yeah, that's true.
Anything else? Okay, then I will entertain a motion. If someone would read.
I'll make a motion to enter an executive session in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 39, Section 23B, to conduct strategy session in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel and not to return to open session.
What's a roll call vote, Alex?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
And the chair is aye. We are in executive session.
Not to return?
And we are back live. So, Rich,
Yes.
how do we
So,
want to handle?
You'll just need a motion to vote on the contract that Scott's printing. We'll be in a few seconds with that, but you'll need a motion and then roll call vote.
Is there a motion regarding the contract for the town manager?
I'll make that motion.
Motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Are we, I guess this is just a question for town council. We're okay doing this. It wasn't on our agenda. It was on for executive session, but not for open session.
Yes, so you go into executive session to discuss everything. The only thing that would need to happen outside of executive session is the vote. So there's the same thing, like if you were going into executive session to discuss collective bargaining agreements or things like that. You wouldn't, I don't think it would be on the agenda to, like to vote for it. It would be on for the discussion and then come out for the vote, so.
Okay,
So it follows along the same.
thank you.
So we have a motion and a second to approve the contract for the town manager. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote. Alex?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye.
And Alex, for the people at home, why don't we give them the details?
Sure?
Like,
It's
just a
public-
summary of what changed.
It's a public document. Do you
It
wanna-
it is, they can get the details, but just to kind of save them, do you mind if I?
Sure, go right ahead.
We negotiated with Scott. It was quick and painless. We're very happy with the work Scott has done over the life of his first contract. And Scott was willing to maybe not fight as hard on the money if we gave him a 5-year contract. Speaking for myself, I was fully confident in giving him a 5-year contract. In fact, I'm happy.
I agree.
It's a tough market right now to find good town managers, and we found one. So to lock him up for 5 years, I think is a win for us. And the fact that he didn't fight over money, we're paying him what the average town manager.
Actually, we're paying him below
Probably
average.
a little below.
A little below average from other towns.
For what they make, but he certainly earns every penny of it, so I was happy to support this.
And he was happy with the money to get a 5-year contract, so I think the town did very well. Obviously, Scott did well, but he is still a little bit below the average, but we have him for 5 more years.
Yeah, I think it's a win-win. He gets stability, and we do too, because it was a long couple of years changing town managers.
And so that is it. We can motion to adjourn unless there's anything else.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.